Shalom, shalom. I'm going to start out this video by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash, double honors to the apostles and the elder bishops of Great Millstone that rule well, that teach well, while learning the truth 100% according to the Bible. I also want to say shalom to the elect, the 144,000 men, prophets, servants scattered abroad the four corners of the earth, and shalom to you, Akwaf, which are you sisters that are sincere, and your children, shalom. And then today's video is going to be another video from the brother, the Hopeful Like 3, building off of the video which he uploaded, where you see this Eve, and she's basically going to be saying some things that she's going to say, and I'm going to allow the video to play. And then I'm going to get a few precepts, and Lord's willing to be edifying. But this is just goes to show you how destroyed that our people really are. The so-called Negro, Latino, Native American men and women here in Babylon the Great, the 2/3 of our people, that they're just finished, man. So I'm going to allow this video to play. But before I play it, I'm going to say fair use on 1976 Copyright Act, fair use.
What's wrong with this world? For real, for real? It's supposed to be ran by black women.
All right, so you ultimately just heard what it is that Eve said, just for the little glimpse of the video I done showed, right? Where she said basically the reason the world is out of whack because ultimately the world needs to be ran by so-called black women, right? So I'm actually go into the order of things, which we know what ultimately Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shah have ultimately said that the order of things were, right? And how they are, how the man is the head and the woman is the tail, roughly paraphrasing. And I'm going to actually get that precept. This is 1 Corinthians chapter 11, and I'm going to start at verse 3 in the KJV. It said, "But I will have you know that the head of every man is Hamashiach Yahweh Shah, and the head of the woman is the man," right? And the head of Hamashiach is Yahweh, right? So that's proving to you right there the order of things according to the Bible. So we know ultimately that the man is superior to the woman, not trying to beat down women or things of that nature, but ultimately we just know according to the scriptures how ultimately things are and how they're set up, man. And that so-called black women is not supposed to be in rulership of nothing, man. So this is what it is we got to deal with in this society, and this is mainly the mindset of the 2/3 of our women here in America. Like I said, due to those philosophies and things in which it is they have learned from their father, the devil, Esau, Edom. These are all of the philosophies that he have given them, that wine, being drunk off in that Babylon juice, through feminism and all of those different types of things. You ultimately believe in the minds of these women that they're in control, they're superior, that, they're ultimately ruling everything and things of that nature, right? That's the mindset of them. But like I said, it all goes back to Esau, Edom. This is what you have when you ultimately have the wicked that is ruling the earth, man. You have these people just, through out here, man, right? But I'm actually get to this precept right here. This is Proverbs chapter 9, verse 13. It said, "A foolish woman is clamorous. She is simple and knoweth nothing," right? And that's, the 2/3 of the women here in America, Babylon the Great of our nation. They don't know anything because ultimately they don't take heed to the Bible, man. They don't know that a woman is supposed to be in her place and the things in which it is that Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai have ultimately set them up to be doing, which is to be in the helpmates, taking care of the things in the house, cooking, raising up the women to be modest and things of that nature, being daughters, things of that nature, teaching a woman how to treat her husband and etc. That's what our women of our nation really supposed to be doing. But like I said, again, ultimately, that's not their mindset in this place because they're corrupted. This place, America, has destroyed them, so they got a lot of liberty in this place given to them by Esau, Edom, man, which allowed them to, do the things in which it is that they do, of course, where they have this mentality that you see them with now, man, right? But I'm also get this precept as well, because we know ultimately the main reason why women can't lead anything, man, because, through the woman, the beginning of sin came into the earth, man, right? And I'm actually get that. This is Ecclesiasticus 25:24. It said, "The woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all died," man. So ultimately, this is why you know that a woman shouldn't even be in power, man, because it's not given unto them being a weaker vessel, to have that authority or that power, man. So this is why you ultimately got the world out of whack as it is now, because you got these women here that, were given that power by the devil to, feel as though they have a lot of authority and rights, man, when they really, they really don't. If they did the things in which it is that they should be doing according to the Bible, the women of our nation, then the things would be better. But, we know these all goes back to the curses, of course, and that's why ultimately the women are in this state of mind in which it is that they're in this place, America, So I'm going to go into this precept right here as well. This is Job chapter 39, verse 17. It said, because Yahweh Shem Yahushua have deprived her of wisdom, neither have he imparted her to understanding, right? So that's talking about the women of our nation, man. 2/3 of them, they don't have understanding according to the scriptures. The Lord have not allowed it to go within them, because they're full of pride. They're full of, the cares and affairs of this life. They believe in what the serpent have given them, the philosophies of them being feminists and not needing a man, and they can do it all on their own. And, all of these different types of things that they have ultimately accustomed to through living in this place, Babylon. That's where their mindset is at, man. Majority of these women, man. So I'm gonna allow the video to finish playing.
There's no way around this. Like, it's evident that black women supposed to be running this world. Just think about it. Anytime black women do something to touch something, we instantly take over. When people pass us the ball, we run the fuck out. And this is naturally. Like, we don't even have to do much. That's why the world is going to shit, because black women are supposed to run the world. If black women ran the world, we wouldn't have no pollution, no the weather acting up. We wouldn't have none of this going on.
All right, so you hear what it is that Big Shirley is saying, man. But like I said, this is the mindset of the majority of the women here in America, especially them among our nation, right? And this is why in the very near future, why all these different types of, perilous times that the Lord is going to bring is ultimately going to affect Eve and Jake, but mainly Eve, man, the weaker vessel, the women that has that mentality of, thinking ultimately a man can't do anything for them, that they don't need men. Men aren't nothing. Oh, we're superior to the man. All of that they have gotten from their father, the devil, man. Esau has put those ideologies into their mind through this music, through the technology, through social media, through all of these things in which it is that he ultimately forced upon their mind. He have given them these mindsets to why they think the way that they think, man. But that's going to be to our people's downfall, man. This is Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. It said, my people, right, meaning you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, men and women. But in this video, I'm talking about the women, the 2/3, right, are destroyed for a lack of knowledge, right? Because you don't have the knowledge of the scriptures. You don't know that a woman is supposed to be modest and supposed to do the things in which it is that is pleasing unto the Lord, right? And having to be obedient and submissive to the man. These are the things that our women ultimately don't know, because like I said, again, they don't have the knowledge and understanding according to the scriptures, man. They have a knowledge of this world, right? And it says, because thou hast rejected knowledge, and they reject the knowledge through the service, the prophets that Yahweh Shem Yahushua have ultimately set up to warn them and to tell them how they should be conducting themselves as a woman, how they should be behaving themselves in the things in which it is that they supposed to do, right? But they don't want to do those things because, like I said, it doesn't give them that liberty. It doesn't give them that control and power that they ultimately want to have over the man, that authority, right? And it says, I will also reject thee, that thou should be no priest to me, right? Seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power, I will also forget thy children. And our women have forgotten the laws of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, man. The men as well, but mainly the women, man. They forgot how to behave modestly. They forgot how to be, daughters, man. And how to conduct themselves as women, man, and things of that nature. They don't know any of that, and I'm not speaking to you hopeful elect sisters out there, that are ultimately trying to do these things to the best of your abilities. This is talking about the women of the 2/3, of course, right? This is their mindset, man, and that's ultimately why the Lord is going to bring a lot of destruction upon Eve and Jake, man. In these times that we're coming into, man, due to their mindset, because this place, America, has destroyed the minds of these people, man. That's why the Lord tells us in Micah 2:10 to arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with the sword, destruction. And this is the result of our people, man. They're destroyed, man. And that's ultimately for them not having the understanding and knowledge of the scriptures, man. Being in a dead state of mind, man, spiritually. Our people are just finished. So I'm actually go to this video right here, just touching, because the Apostle Paul actually said that, I'm gonna go to that. Bear with me. This is 2 Timothy, right? And I believe it's chapter 2. If I'm not mistaken, bear with me, brothers and sisters. And I'm gonna go down to verse. Oh, it's 1 Timothy, Salakia, right? This is 1 Timothy chapter 2, right? And I'm going to start at verse 12. And we know this precept goes into women that teach, but ultimately this is just, women in general, man, ultimately not usurping themselves over the men, being submissive, being quiet and things of that nature, man. And this is what, Eve ultimately has a problem with doing. So it says, but I suffer not a woman to teach, nor to exert authority over the man, right? Because that's what Eve have been taught by Esau, to ultimately to think they're superior to the man, that the man, is an S and all of these different types of things, ultimately, right? That's their mindset, right? So ultimately, every woman in this society, mainly the black woman, they love trying to exert their authority over the man and prove to the man that they're equal to him and that they're better than him. This is the wine of Babylon the Great. This is what it have done to these people, man. Right. And it says, but to be in silence, man. See, and these women here in America don't know how to do that. They don't know how to be quiet, man, and just learn and listen to the man and be obedient. These are the things in which they lack. Right. And it says, verse 13, for Adam was first formed, right, talking about the man, then Eve, right. And verse 14 says, and Adam was not deceived, but the woman being deceived was in the transgression. Right. That's why I read that Sirach earlier about through her we all die, man. Right. Because through the transgression of the woman was sin entered into the earth, man. So, hey, those are the things in which it is that we ultimately see, man. And this is an endless result of that wickedness ultimately entering into the earth through the woman. And we see that through their personalities, their behavior, especially among, the so-called Negro, Latino, Native American woman. It's just constantly getting worse, man, here in America, man. The 2/3 of these women, man, they're just getting more worse and worse as days goes on, man. As it tells you, I'm going to get that. Bear with me. This is Isaiah chapter 60. And I'm going to start at verse 2. It said, for behold, the darkness shall cover the earth, and gross darkness the people. But the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua shall arise upon thee, and his glory shall be seen upon thee. Right? So that's what you ultimately see. This is what happened when gross darkness is over these people, man. You see how wicked they are. You see the behaviors and things in which it is that they think. Everybody in this society, their thoughts are vain and wicked. That's the only thing in which it is that these people think about. Everybody in this country, America, mainly amongst our people, also these heathens as well. But in this instance, I'm talking about our people, the 2/3 of the nation of Israel. They're full of pride. You can't tell them anything, especially the women. So, I mean, this whole place is just sick, man. And that's ultimately why Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua is getting ready to do away with this place, man, due to the wickedness of, the so-called Negro, Latino, Native American man and woman, man, but mainly the woman, because these women out here are through, man, So I'm going to actually get back into the video. I'm going to listen to just the rest of it.
The world is literally telling us that whoever running it isn't doing it correctly. Boy, I tell you.
Right. And we know ultimately when the world is going to get back in its right state is when Yahweh Shai, Lord and Savior, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus, when he ultimately makes his second return, that's when the world will be back in its right state. Not when no damn black woman is in power, man. The world wouldn't even last that long if that was to occur. We know, it'd be way worse than what it is, right? I mean, hey, it's hell now with just Esau being in power. So you can imagine the world with so-called black women ruling, especially the black women in this society with the mindsets and the spirit that they have on them, man. That'll be terrible. But I mean, hey, this is the time and season that we're in. These people here, they're just, through, man. So Lord's willing, I pray this video was edifying, just something quick through the spirit, man. But to the next time, I'm going to say shalom.